Welcome to the West's most western town, Scottsdale. I'm Stephanie Tippett. In this edition of Scottsdale Roundup, ride the rails of adventure on this small but mighty piece of heavy metal. Meet the granddaddy of garbage trucks. Learn how to prepare for a disaster. And finally, find out where you can adopt a new furry family member. Stay tuned, we got some great Scottsdale stories headed your way. Here we go. All aboard! Take a ride at McCormick-Stillman Railroad Park with Steam Locomotive number 11 in this edition of Heavy Metal. City of Scottsdale employees invented what is now modern garbage collection. It all started with the truck nicknamed Godzilla.
Living in Scottsdale, Arizona allows you and me as residents to be amazed by the initiative and inventiveness of Scottsdale's city employees. Which brings us to today's subject, Godzilla. Godzilla. What does your imagination conjure when you hear that word? Do you imagine the prehistoric creature from the 1954 Japanese film, The Monster That Trashed Tokyo? Or do you imagine the dinosaur from the 1998 remake with Matthew Broderick? That creature trashed the United States. Those creations were imaginary. Scottsdale, by contrast, had its very own, very real Godzilla, and it was into trashing in a very different way. Those celluloid movie monsters, those Godzillas, were imaginary, but they were also the product of creativity and imagination. So was Scottsdale's Godzilla. The concept was formulated in the late 1960s to deal with a very serious problem. The serious problem was this: old-time trash pickup. Here to tell us more about how Scottsdale's Godzilla was enlisted to solve this problem is Mark Strager, the retired public service director for the city of Scottsdale.
We used a system that I think was developed in Tucson. It consisted of the swampers, the guys who picked up the garbage, filled 3 trailers that were about 8 feet square and 4 feet deep on wheels. And those 3 trailers were pulled behind a pickup truck, which also had a container on it. They filled those, and then they were dumped by a big front loader. So the idea was that the little trucks did the collection and the big trucks did the hauling. They picked up 10 tons a day, not counting the can. They emptied 10 tons a day. And so it was really hard work. Guys just couldn't take it. They had to be in such good condition and had to be able to tolerate, temperatures of 110 in the shade and working so hard. So we had a lot of turnover, we had a lot of accidents. Manual refuse collection in general is 3 or 4 times accident prone, as hazardous as the next leading, which are things like logging and street maintenance, and so unfortunately we had a lot of accidents. The superintendent and I said, we just can't keep doing this. We've got to find a better way. And so we went to work thinking about it, talking about it, interviewing people. Los Angeles had tried a mechanization program that hadn't worked. We figured that the problem that they had is that they tried to pick up the garbage people put out. And we kind of centered on the idea of having a standard container. We finally found a guy who was willing to help us build a machine, and he had some ideas. And the ideas look like that. And so we had a grant, and it went like this. First phase, figure out a way to pick up the containers, try out the containers, let everybody see what they think. Second phase, if that works, if it's popular, we had to build a truck that would work for this initial phase, where we just wanted to find out if we could get people involved in the idea of using a standard container. And we went with that for 3 or 6 months, or I think 6 months. And at the end of that time, we hired a guy from ASU, so it would be, neutral, and he found that it was overwhelmingly popular. Meanwhile, in order to do that collection, we built 2 trucks. The first one was Godzilla. We were building this arm that was going to grab the containers that was fitting in this forklift frame. And one of the guys working on it was Chuck Kalinowski. Chuck was a transfer from the fire department. He was a pretty good mechanic. He was kind of frustrated because the pieces didn't fit. And he said, what do they expect us to do anyway? We're building a monster here, a Godzilla. The guys who heard that thought that was a great story, and so it became Godzilla and has been. And then, of course, when this more advanced truck showed up, it was the Sun.
Over the years, Scottsdale's city employees have added innovation after innovation to the process of refuse collection until today, where we now in Scottsdale have a state-of-the-art refuse collection system. Here to tell us more about that evolution and about the contributions of Scottsdale's creative employees is Dan Worth, Scottsdale's Executive Director of Public Works.
This really is evidence of the legacy of what Mark and his staff did 40 years ago. And not just the fact that we got one sitting behind us, but that everybody in the industry is using it. The big commercial providers are using them, all the other municipalities in the valley, most of them across the country, they're using what Mark Sprigier and Scottsdale employees developed 40 years ago because it's the right way to go. It's the most efficient way to do business. We're continuing to innovate, and one of the things that was our move into clean energy, clean fuels, compressed natural gas. We're buying compressed natural gas trucks, not just the side loaders, but our brush trucks and our front end loaders that we use for our commercial. I'll tell you, compressed natural gas, cheap, plentiful, clean fuel, American produced. We're not alone. The rest of the industry is looking at it and moving towards it. A lot of manufacturers are making compressed natural gas trucks and adding them to their fleets, but I will tell you that we are at the forefront and continue to be at the forefront as we buy new trucks and expand into that. So we're still right at the forefront, innovating ahead of the industry and leading the way, and very proud of it.
If you're a parent of a child who is fascinated by one of these refuse collection trucks, or if you're a parent who is a child fascinated by one of these refuse pickup trucks, you can arrange for a ride-along. Just call the City of Scottsdale at 480-312-5600 and you can arrange a ride-along. The Scottsdale employees will arrange to pick you up at your home, take you on a 20 or 30-minute ride through your neighborhood collecting refuse, and at the end of that time, we'll see you safely deposited back at your home. And the next time you see one of these trucks on your block, remember, This whole process started with Scottsdale Employee Innovation and Initiative and a monster named Godzilla.
It is important to think about emergency preparedness before a disaster strikes. The City of Scottsdale and the Arizona Department of Emergency Management are teaming up to help you get ready.
Natural disasters and emergencies come in a variety of sizes and have different consequences. Whether it's a wildfire in northern Arizona, flash flooding in Phoenix, or broiling summer temperatures, every Arizonan needs to take precautions and prepare. Hello, I'm April Slutsky, Public Information Officer for the Arizona Division of Emergency Management.
And I'm John Meady. I'm the Emergency Management Coordinator for the City of Scottsdale. An important step in preparing is to create a disaster supply kit, a collection of basic items you may need in the event of an emergency. Assemble your kit now, before an emergency. You may have to evacuate at a moment's notice and take essentials with you. You probably won't have time to search for the supplies you need. After an emergency, you may need to survive on your own. Local officials and relief workers cannot reach everyone immediately after disaster. You could get help in hours, or it might take days.
Additionally, basic services such as electricity, gas, water, sewage treatment, and telephones may be cut off for days, a week, or longer. Your kit should help you manage during these outages. Your disaster supply kit should contain items to help you manage during these times, essential food, water, and supplies for at least 3 days, including a first aid kit, medications, a flashlight, radio, and batteries. Allow for 1 gallon of water per person per day for drinking and personal care. If you have pets, include their water needs in your estimates as well. Children, nursing mothers, sick people, and those living in warmer climates may need more water. If you know an emergency situation is imminent and you have time, fill as many containers as you can with water, including bathtubs.
Store at least a 3-day supply of non-perishable food, such as granola bars, dry cereal, nuts, crackers, dried fruit, peanut butter, jerky, freeze-dried or dehydrated foods, ready-to-eat canned foods and juices. Avoid salty foods as they can increase thirst. Individuals with special diets and allergies will need special attention, as will babies, toddlers, and the elderly. If you have a pet, pack a 3-day supply of food and medicine for them as well. Other things to consider when creating your disaster supply kit is to pack and label extra equipment and assistive devices such as mobility aids, communication devices, catheter, hearing aid batteries, etc., with your name and contact information. Pack some money, including coins, in case you need to use a payphone.
Some paperwork to include in your list: a list of prescription medications, including dosages, a list of your allergies, serial numbers for any medical devices, a copy of medical and insurance cards, your family communications plan, and your pet's medical records. Keep items in airtight plastic bags and put your entire disaster supplies kit in 1 or 2 easy-to-carry containers, such as an unused trash can, camping backpack, or a duffel bag. Keep your kit in a designated place and have it ready in case you have to leave your home quickly. Make sure all your family members know where the kit is.
Since you don't know where you will be when an emergency occurs, you should prepare a kit for work and for your vehicle. Be prepared to shelter at work for at least 24 hours. Make sure you have food and water and other necessities in your kit. Store comfortable walking shoes at your workplace in case evacuation requires walking long distances. Make sure your kit is easily accessible and ready to grab and go in case you're evacuated from your workplace.
In the event that you are stranded in your vehicle, keep a kit in your car that includes jumper cables, a flashlight and extra batteries, a first aid kit and necessary medications, food such as nuts and energy bars, water, an AM/FM radio, cat litter or sand for better tire traction, a shovel, an ice scraper, warm clothing items for the winter, a change of clothes, a blanket, or even a sleeping bag. It's a good idea to also include a phone charger, flares, or even a reflective triangle. Don't forget baby formula and diapers if you have a small child.
And just as important as putting your supplies together is maintaining them so they're safe to use when needed. Keep canned food in a cool, dry place. Store boxed food in tightly closed containers to protect from pests and to extend its shelf life. Throw out any canned goods that have become swollen, dented, or corroded. Use foods before they go bad. Replace them with fresh supplies every 6 months. Rethink your needs every year and update your kit as your family's needs change.
Now that you have your kit prepared, let's have a little fun with it. We are going to visit Chef Jean-Paul Hutchins from Le Cordon Bleu College of Culinary Arts in Scottsdale.
Hey, this is Chef Jean-Paul Hutchins from Le Cordon Bleu, and welcome to the Emergency Kit Cook-Off. We hold this every year. We want to get you out there thinking about if there was an emergency and you had to feed yourself, your family, or loved ones for about 3 days, how would you do it? And does it have to be boring? We're going to say no to that, because I'm going to give you a recipe today to hopefully whet your palate and get those amazing gears turning so you can come up with some of your own ideas as well. So I'm going to make something called a chana masala, and everything I'm using you can store on your shelf. So I'm using some oil, throw it in the pot, I'm going to heat it up. Now a chana masala is an Indian dish that relies a lot on spices. So I could make boiled beans, but that's really pretty boring. So I've thrown some cumin in here. And then I'm going to toast off some garam masala, a little bit of coriander, and just get that amazing flavor going. And as soon as I can smell it, I'm going to throw in some tomatoes. Now these are canned diced tomatoes. And I'm throwing in garbanzo beans. Now let's suppose you're not into garbanzo beans. Can you use white beans? Absolutely. Can you use pinto beans? I don't see why not. Can you use lima beans? I don't know why you would, but Jimmy cracked corn, I don't care. Add whatever you want to this. So I'm going to bring this up. Now you can do this over canned heat. I'm going to add a little bit of salt. And I'm going to add a little bit of ginger. And in lieu of onion, I'm going to use onion powder and garlic powder. It's handy, it's incredibly shelf stable, and it carries a lot of flavor for a long time. It's really cool stuff. So just to taste. And then just a little bit of water. I'm going to bring that up to heat. Now, something else I want to show you that's pretty interesting. This is going to be a great bean dish. It's going to have a lot of pop, a lot of flavor. But it's just a bowl of beans. Don't you want some rice? But the problem is, if I'm cooking rice, it takes a lot of energy because I've got to boil a whole bunch of water. It's kind of like pasta, all right? So it takes a lot of time, and my fuel's going to be limited. So there are products like this out here, which is a pre-cooked rice mix, and it's actually seasoned, and it tastes pretty amazing. So this is quinoa and brown rice, and as you can see, all I had to do with this packet was you can throw it in a microwave at home, or you can just put it in a pot of hot water. So if I'm heating water anyway, let's suppose for coffee afterwards, make sure the outside of the package is clean, throw it in the hot water, let it sit for about 3 or 4 minutes till it warms through, put it in my plate, and it's ready to go. Completely cooked. All right, takes about 90 seconds to heat it. Once this comes up to a boil, all I have to do is spoon it in the middle. And we have a complete meal. Complete protein. And low fat. So in as short as 5 minutes, we've got a complete meal. Starch, protein, the whole deal, and it smells amazing. It's just that simple and that delicious. I don't even feel like I'm in an emergency situation right now. I feel like I'm in a fine restaurant. So I want you to check out the website on the bottom of the screen. Go to the site, get prepared, and have some fun too. I want you to play with some of those ingredients out there, and you can even contact me through that site. And if you want to stump me and put together some bizarre combination of shelf-stable ingredients, I'll give it a crack and try to make a recipe out of it. But do something, get involved. Be prepared! And go online to emergencykitcookoff.org, take a look at some of the recipes, and submit a couple at the same time. Have fun.
Thanks for joining us. Hopefully you feel a little more prepared to take action in the event of a disaster.
And for more information about preparedness, you can visit azein.gov.
Finally, some fantastic furry friends are looking for new forever homes. Watch to find out how you can help.
Did you know there's an award-winning animal adoption center right here in your community? I'm Melissa Gable with Maricopa County Animal Care and Control, and I'd like to introduce you to our PetSmart Charities Everyday Adoption Center right here in Old Town Scottsdale. Our Everyday Adoption Center features adoptable dogs, cats, puppies, and kittens from Maricopa County Animal Care and Control. The animals that you'll see here are transported from our East Valley and West Valley Animal Care Centers. This adoption location adopts out more than 1,800 animals every single year and is one of PetSmart Charity's most successful everyday adoption centers.
One of my most rewarding experiences was the adoption of my pet Stanley. He's a 2-year-old golden retriever that I found in the Everyday Adoption Center. And like a lot of our pet parents that come to the store, nobody really realizes they're looking for their next pet until they come across one. And so we always make the comment that you never know what you're looking for until you find it. And Stanley was that for me. He was abandoned and I was fortunate enough to rescue him. And it just goes to show how many wonderful pets are in the shelters. As a leader in pet adoptions, PetSmart Charities is always looking for opportunities to find homes for pets. This gives the pets more exposure that they wouldn't necessarily get inside a shelter, and it also reduces the number of pets in overcrowded shelters.
The Everyday Adoption Center is a great place for those folks who want to adopt but who may be intimidated or overwhelmed by a larger animal shelter. Sometimes when there's hundreds of faces staring back at you, it's difficult to decide who to choose. But here we have fewer animals, and that actually makes it easier for potential adopters to connect with a specific dog or cat.
Working for MCC is a very rewarding experience, and I've had countless faces that I think of daily and make the job worthwhile. One in particular is actually a foster failure story of mine. And Henry came in. He's a little black puppy. He was an orphan puppy, bottle baby, maybe about 8-9 days old. And I was at work late, and he came in after hours. And the kennel staff came back and held up this little puppy and said, "We need a foster for it." And there was no one but me. So I was like, okay, crate him up and I'll take him home. And so I took this little booger home and fed him, and he was an angry eater. Oh, he would just, and so fed him and took care of him for, about 8 weeks. And then he went to one of our events, and he went up for adoption. He wore his little superhero cape, and he just looked phenomenal, and everybody took pictures with him, and everybody oohed and awed over him, and nobody took him home. And then he went on TV, and he was a superstar, and I'm not sure what he said in his dialogue, but apparently it did not win him any favors, because he went up for adoption again, and nobody took him home. And I came to pick him up, because I'm a big baby at my fosters, so I have to get him, because they can't stay overnight. And I came to pick him up, and he was curled in a little ball, shivering, and he looked over his little leg at me with just eyes, and I was done. So I called up the next day and said, "He's not coming back, he's staying." And that's how I came to have a 5-month-old puppy right now, named Henry, with crazy hair, googly eyes, silly ears, and he's just ridiculous.
One advantage to being located inside of a PetSmart store is that we have access to their customers. Our staff and volunteers often walk the adoptable dogs through the store and introduce them to shoppers. This helps potential adopters see what an animal would be like outside of a kennel environment. We are always in need of volunteers at our PetSmart Charities Everyday Adoption Center. It's a good alternative for folks who want to help but are worried that the shelter environment might be too difficult for them.
The most frequently asked questions that potential adopters ask me have to do with the animal's behavior or the history of them, whether or not they're good with other dogs and cats, how long they've been here, if they've had any medical conditions, which is really great because you want to make sure that they're as right for the pet just as much as the pet is right for them. There have definitely been animals that I've gotten attached to while they've been here, and that just makes me more determined to get them a good home. And it's really special when they get adopted because this animal that you have shared a bond with is now going home with someone who has that bond with them as well.
For more information on volunteering at our Everyday Adoption Center or to see the adoptable animals at our shelters, visit our website at maricopa.gov/pets, or you can give us a call at 602-506-7387. Well, that's it for this special edition of Scottsdale Roundup. Didn't get enough? You can find more at the city's website, scottsdaleaz.gov. Look for quick links and click on Watch City Cable 11. You can also watch us on our YouTube channel, Scottsdale AZ Gov. I'll see you next time.